Welcome to the Mullin' It Over podcast with Reverend Jack Mullins and Austin Covey.
Welcome to another episode of Mullin' It Over. Today we have Lana Hansen, the founder and executive director of Many Helping Hands, and Kensley Cunningham, the social media guru and the outreach coordinator of Many Helping Hands. And want to thank both of you ladies for coming and joining with us. Give me a brief statement of the mission of Many Helping Hands.
Well, Many Helping Hands, we want to change lives of our Irving homeless with compassionate, Christian-based services, show them love, dignity, and hope.
Okay.
So that they feel like somebody really cares about them, speak life into their life.
Excellent, excellent. Kensley, how did you get connected with this group?
Well, it started with this teen group that I used to take out. I had a teen volunteer group. So I told them, hey, let's get in the community and let's do some things. So I researched Many Helping Hands online. And then I was like, oh, this may be something we can do. So we went and fed the homeless with the teens and they loved it. So I kept that passion going. So I was like, you know what, I could do this on my own. So I went and I talked to Lana and I was like, can I join? And she was like, of course, we're always looking for members. So we're always looking for volunteers. So that's how I got started with it.
Excellent. How long have you been doing the social media side of things?
About 2 years now.
Okay.
Going on 2 years. I'm fresh.
You're fresh.
I'm fresh, but I'm trying to get it up and going.
That's good. That's good.
Do you have a background in that, or is it just
It's just a passion project. Yeah, interest.
What is the most challenging aspect of doing the social media side of a social service agency?
The social media side is responding to all the comments. That is the tough part. We're trying to help everybody, so we get a lot of comments and we got to give them feedback. Everybody needs help, so.
Okay.
is that what most of the response you get is people asking for assistance and that sort of thing?
Get a lot of questions, yeah. And so we definitely needed help with our social media, especially expanding out more than what we have now, which is Facebook.
And pushing our flyers and events, things like that, so people will know that we're here.
Go ahead.
Oh, you had mentioned having a high school group or a younger group of volunteers. How did you get involved with that?
I was working for a company, an organization, and I was working with teenagers, and I told them, that was my group, and they were like, let's do some things. We don't need to have fun all the time. Let's, do something in the community. So I was like, what about outreach? Let's do some outreach things. Let's get in this community. This is where you guys are born and raised, some of them. So then we just went and helped out.
What if somebody were to look for your media, where would they find that? On what platform do you tend to post?
We're on Facebook and YouTube right now. Okay. We're leaning towards TikTok. We'll be coming out with that pretty soon, but right now we're on Facebook and YouTube. Our Facebook is Many Helping Hands, and then our website is manyhelpinghands.com. Org, I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay. What is the hardest aspect of getting that social media presence together?
The hardest aspect would be just engaging the audience, making sure that they know that we're here, that they're aware of the things that we're trying to do, the things that we're trying to accomplish, donations, sponsorships, letting these big organizations know that we're here and we need help.
What are your greatest needs from your window, from social media side?
Volunteers, just seeing if we can get people to understand that there's always a need. They don't have to come all the time. If you just come once, that time spent is worth a lot.
Do you have equipment needs?
Equipment needs. Let me ask.
So we always have, right now we need an oven, a commercial oven, and a van. So right now we have a 2014 van that has over 300,000 miles on it. And we pick up to 40 people a day, 3 times a week. And we also transport for inclement weather in that same van. So it's used often. So a van is one of the big needs. But our commercial oven is out at our day center. So all we have is burners. So we have to do crock pots and things like that. When you're serving 40 people, that's kind of difficult. So we're hoping and praying for that to be fixed soon.
Have you popped a breaker yet? Plugging up crock pots in.
Not there, but other places.
Yeah, we've done that before in other places.
Yes.
But as far as washers and dryers, we wash in clothes, which I'll talk about later. But they go out. The heating inlets go out. We have needs that come up like that. And my transmission went out. So there's all kinds of things like that pop up. We use social media to gain interest in helping us support that and raise funds.
Okay. If somebody were to contact you and say, I have some donation monies available that I would like to direct specifically to social media, what could you use? Cameras or recorders?
Of course, cameras. We can set up a podcast as well. We can use it for marketing, brand marketing, sending out flyers and posts. So stuff like that, brand awareness.
Because I think sometimes people don't think in terms of modern technology when looking at a program such as yours. Of course, every group needs functional, up-to-date computer. But the needs for you, as I've learned working with Austin, the needs for a social media computer and technology is different.
Yes, cameras, drones sometimes.
Oh, that'd
different
be
things.
cool.
Yeah, drones.
I have one. We just never use it for anything.
That's right. I remember you flying
We
that
might
around.
borrow it sometimes.
Yes, we might need to borrow it.
What kind of, looking at like the social media sphere, when you think of like, oh, what kind of stuff do you want to do? You know what I mean? Like what kind of, is there like content creation stuff that you're like, oh, I'd really like to do that, or oh, this would be fun, or I'd really like to showcase this part of what we do. You know what I mean? Like what kind of ideas do you have as far as, does that make sense? I don't know if my...
It does. I'm trying to...
I would like to do testimonies of our clients. Be able to do a filming of our clients and show their success stories and show their struggles. I mean, a lot of them struggle and they lose hope. And, it's important to see that as well, see all aspects of what our clients go through.
Right.
We call them our friends, what our friends go through. So if we had that, equipment that we could do those kind of things and an environment where we could do that, it would definitely help get our word out of what we need, or that the organization wants to grow, and to grow we have to get the presence out there. Yeah.
Just stuff that came to my mind was like a day in the life of
I
a
was just
volunteer,
about to say that.
Or
I was
like
about
a
to
day,
say that.
even like a day in the life of a homeless person.
That's what I was gonna say,
That
yeah.
kind of stuff. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
some of, because you had mentioned the podcast, and I just
Yes.
wondered like what other ideas you were like,
The day in the life.
Day in the life, that would be good.
And you just follow their life the whole time. I didn't want to make it a reality TV show, but
But yeah, I think it's important. And, for volunteering, I think, if people think I have to go lift boxes, or I have to, there's so many things. You can cook, you can wash the dishes, you can talk to people, you can pray with people. You can help me write the thank you cards, because we want to thank everybody that donates. There's so many things. There's social media. That when Kensley stepped up for that, I'm like, yes, because I'm not an expert in that at all. I do my best with my phone, but it'd be great to be able to expand us. So there's so many things, and whatever your skill set is, we could use it.
when phones make really good cameras nowadays,
They do. They do.
And for, if anybody's watching who might be interested in, like, say, oh, well, I don't have enough money to donate for a camera, the one that's right over there, not this one, but the far one, is $230 on Amazon right now. So they're not maybe as expensive as they once were.
That's good. That's good.
I also have something too, is like the target audience as far as like age group. We're trying to get some of the younger people in, young adults, and then we have our senior class that's helping, but we want to push for more young adults to come out. It's always stuff that we can do and help. So
So part of that's going to be a focus on specific social media platforms and try to figure out what they are looking at, hence TikTok.
TikTok, exactly.
What about Instagram, dude?
Instagram is so, but they're more on TikTok.
Okay.
And TikTok reach people faster. So it's something that we need to get going to.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And in the past, have you seen, like, have you been doing this long enough to kind of see it affecting volunteers? Like, can you say, like we had a trunk or treat last year, and we did a boosted Facebook post, and we asked people when they came in, because we sent out some mailers and some different things. And when they came in, it's like, hey, how'd you find us? And maybe 90% of them said Facebook.
Really?
So I didn't know if y'all had volunteers showing up. It's like, oh, how'd you know about us? Oh, we saw you on Facebook. You know, I just didn't know if you had seen that or not.
Not yet.
Not yet. No, not yet. But we're working on it.
Yes, and that's where the donations and stuff come, so I can do boosted posts, because that really does help.
Have you done anything in what you're putting out there in Spanish?
We have not.
That's something we've been talking about, too,
Yes.
because of the neighborhood here seems to maybe not look like us all the time.
Yes,
It's the best way I can write that, right?
Yeah.
And that's why we want to partner with some of these, different churches, different, ethnic groups.
Yeah.
So then we will reach those different ethnicities.
Yeah.
So
One thing I had picked up over the years, some ethnic groups are much less comfortable contacting an organization such as y'all's, or any organization they feel might be connected to the quote-unquote power structure. And part of it's cultural, part of it's legal status.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask that your clients and friends, do you see a disproportionate number of them being Caucasian, or like if we talk about reaching out in Spanish or other languages, do you get a lot of people coming in who?
We have several Hispanic friends, yes. We do actually have one Hispanic male that works for the day center. That's our, he translates for us. We had someone come in and needed a box of food, and he was able to translate, so we got him a box of food. So yeah, so we have, I wish I would have brought my demographics, but we have all demographics, all demographics. And we don't care if they're citizen. I mean, if somebody's hungry, I don't care if they're homeless or not, sheltered or unsheltered, we will feed them, we will clothe them, we will let them have a safe place out of the weather, during the day, those kind of things. And so, we have served with, we have some Indian groups that come in and they cook and they serve. We have served with all different people. We're all denominations right now, and if somebody contacts us, we absolutely open a slot for them.
Awesome.
Well, it sounds like you've got your hands full in trying to get it all done.
Yes, trying to get it up and going.
It also sounds like one of your needs in terms of volunteers would be someone who could come in and serve as a translator or interface with some of your other populations.
That would be good.
On the media side, I would say that's like you said, that she's got her hands full. We don't necessarily run out of content to create, but the bottleneck of getting it edited and getting, you know what I mean? Like the back end of it.
It's more to it than what people
right?
think.
It's
a process.
Yeah, I think that by itself is a full-time job.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So,
Is there anything else you would add in terms of the outreach, social media side of it?
Just if any other churches are available and want to partner, we're here for that too. We would love to come by your church, talk to you, do different things, and in any way we can help. It's always good to help out when you're being helped. So, thank you.
If anybody, has any people that come to their church that are homeless, let them know about our services, so that, because we haven't, we don't reach everybody, and it's by word of mouth. So it's real important to share. So if you know people that are, or you see them on corners, ask them if they know about Many Helping Hands.
Okay. And for them to access Facebook is Many Helping Hands.
Yes.
Facebook. And then your webpage is manyhelpinghands.org. Okay, very good. And they can see the handiwork of your efforts.
Yes, yes.
Very good. Well,
We do daily posts. We do a daily post, and we put stories out there, you know, and we talk about volunteers, and so you can learn a lot about our ministry if you follow us on Facebook.
Y'all are doing better than us. We try to do a daily post. It doesn't.
Yeah, it's
Well,
hard.
you're really supposed to be posting like 2-3 times a day, constantly.
So we try to do a daily post, but sometimes I'll look up and it'll be 9:00 at night, and I'm like, oops.
Yeah,
That didn't happen
me
today.
too. I did one. Matter of fact, I did one Sunday night. Yeah,
Is that, yeah, it's like, we're going to try this one tomorrow. Sorry, guys.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so.
Lana, as we get acquainted with you, I'd like to ask you to share a little bit about your background. Tell us a little bit about your family life growing up between cradle and, say, age 18.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. So I grew up in Michigan.
Okay.
I grew up in, actually it's called Dearborn, Michigan, and well, I have 2 sisters, and my parents were together, and my grandmother lived with us. We went to a Lutheran church, you know, we sang in the choir, all those things growing up, so a good childhood. At age 13, my dad was diagnosed with cancer, and quickly, he did chemo and quickly went south. Yeah, it went bad. So that was very tragic for our family. So the income stopped and things like that. Around that time, I had tragedy with a rape. So I had a lot of trauma in my life around the 13, 14 age. So I never went back to church. I turned my back. You know, my mom needed help, so I started working at 14, paying rent, and just kind of living life thinking God didn't love me. A lot of abandonment issues and things like that with my dad passing. So, you know, I successfully graduated high school, but I was making a lot of bad choices, running with the wrong crowd, all those things. And when I was 18, I started working for Ford Motor Company, and then they laid us off. So I moved to Texas at 19. I said bye, and I moved out of Michigan and moved to Texas, and that's how I got to Texas. So during that time, I was drinking and doing drugs and things like that, but still maintaining a job. So Texas was a big move. My mom, I was 19. I was gone. So.
Why Texas?
Houston was a big boom town. This was in the 80s, early 80s. And so the big joke was last one to leave, turn out the lights in Michigan, because we all got laid off from Ford and whatever, and Chrysler, and everyone moved to Houston. So I moved to Houston, and then I eventually ended up in Dallas.
Okay. In that move, what was the biggest challenge for you in terms of transitioning from Michigan to Houston, personally?
Personally, well, I thought I was all grown up. So I was making some grown-up decisions, being very young. I didn't finish college. I had just started a community college. So the transition was going straight to adulting. From basically non-adulting, living with my mother. So, it was a hard transition. And then I moved with my boyfriend. So there was trouble there, trouble in paradise or whatever. Yeah. So, but I was stuck in Houston with him. So we had to make it work out for a while. I think that was the transition, from being a child, not really growing up, to adulting. I had to get a full-time job and pay bills and do all those things.
I have joked before that I thought I was an adult at 18. And the older I get, the more wrong I realize I was.
So many bad choices.
I knew nothing about nothing when I was 18, but I thought I knew everything.
Exactly. Yeah. My mother couldn't tell me. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Exactly.
What brought you to Dallas, to Irving?
Well, my sister ended up moving to Houston, and we decided it was too hot and humid.
I agree.
So she was working for a company, and so we came up here, and so we just moved together, and we started our life here. And she was working for a company, and several years later, I got hired on at the same company.
Okay.
And so when you get to Irving, are you interested in getting involved in the community, or are you just like, man, I'm just doing my thing, you know?
Yeah, so I went through a period of my life where it was all self-centered, didn't know God. So basically from 13 on, I had a successful career, but I was still using and drinking and out partying all the time. And I met my husband at a bar. You would know that both of us were alcoholics. So, you meet somebody at a bar, chances are. So, I went through life just very self-willed. Never ever thought about serving or, community. I just was surviving. Paycheck to paycheck, bad decision to bad decision.
Not involved with the church, not doing any of that kind of stuff.
Not involved with
right.
the church. We might show up like on Christmas or Easter just because I knew that was what we were supposed to do. But there was no relationship at all. Yeah, I was very lost and sad, and had a huge hole inside.
Was that obvious to you at the time?
No. Well, I knew I was lost, but I thought I was good.
Right.
I'm good about putting the mask on.
Sometimes
so the outside world thought everything was really good.
I just know sometimes if you put the mask on enough, you start to believe your own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I didn't know.
I thought I was all that in a bag of chips, right? I actually thought that I was handling life well because I had a successful career.
And how old
But I was
were
a
you
mess.
when you moved here?
So I moved, let me think. I was 24 when we moved to Dallas.
Okay.
I started working at 26 with the company that I ended up retiring from. Excuse me. Had a brief move to Chicago with that same company and then came back to Dallas. So all that time I was, just building my career up at this company. I worked my way into management and then project management.
Did you realize that being up north is not as great as being down here, and that's why you came back?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I realized I didn't miss that at all.
Right.
Yes.
The cold hits different when you've been in the warm for a little while.
And the people are different. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's true.
it was different. Yeah.
As you were living through that time of your life and thereafter, what changed you? What redirected your focus?
So I went through a bad divorce, some tragedy with my family. So I was using more. I would go to rehab, try to straighten up. So I had a daughter, and things were going well until that tragedy and divorce happened. So we went through a big battle. I got laid off from my job all about that same time. So that's when everything just kind of went south. I just kind of gave up on life. I was a victim. So I ended up losing my house. My daughter ended up moving back in with my ex-husband, and I became homeless. And I was hopeless, homeless, and going to die that way. I didn't want to live. I didn't want to die. So I was out there wandering around in the streets. There was no services for me. So I didn't get a hug. Nobody looked at me, in the eyes. Nobody called me by name. It was just a very, very, very lost
Just
world.
existing.
Existing. It was really, really, it was hard. So one night I cried out to God, and I knew I shouldn't be living. I didn't want to live that way anymore. My actual prayer was I should be kicking butt and taking names. That was that God, because I did. That's what I felt like I did.
Right.
And I just surrendered for the first time from my heart to God. And an hour later, God rescued me. And I knew I was going to be okay. And that was when I was 46 years old. So from 26 to 46, basically. I was out there homeless for almost 5 years. And God rescued me and put me on firm ground, brought me to a church, introduced me to, ministries. And so I knew right then that I was going to be okay. He brought me to a homeless ministry in downtown Dallas. And when I walked on that parking lot, he said, "This is what you're going to do." So I knew right then I had a purpose.
Yeah. How did that experience shape you or prepare you for what you're doing now?
Knowing that you have a purpose and that you're God focused, and it prepared me by just putting one foot in front of the other and allowing God to be God and me not to try to take control, right? I have to surrender it every day to him. So that process of doing that, I started getting my self-esteem back. You know, I met people. Ended up getting my job back where I had worked, and they bridged my time. So all these things started happening, positive things. I had a church family, you know, that loved me and encouraged me and spoke life into me, and all the things that I needed. Because being homeless and, you know, losing your daughter and being homeless, there's no hope. Right. So you have no self-esteem, no love, and you just feel like that's who you're going to be the rest of your life. That there's no hope, you know. And so God replaced that for me.
I think that's an interesting. Some of the stuff you said there, I think, is an interesting point to make, because I think a lot of times when we think about helping the homeless, we think about meeting their physical needs, but we don't always talk about meeting their spiritual and emotional needs and making them feel like a human and making them feel like they can go somewhere in life. You know, that kind of. Absolutely. You know, it's like, we'll keep giving you food, but maybe that's not what they need, or maybe not the only thing, then, you know. Yeah, so I can tell you, so Many Helping Hands started, so when I moved back to Irving, and like I said, I got my job back, and I started going to the small biker church, and I would go down to the ministry in downtown Dallas every Sunday, because that's where I was called to go, right? It's a homeless ministry. And I would wear my shirt to church, and my pastor said, "Here, take the van and bring him to church." So I would bring a whole van load to church, and we would feed in downtown Irving. There was homeless in downtown Irving, so we would invite them in for service, and then we would have a lunch in the afternoon. And so we started building relationships. So they knew we were always going to be there. You know, we started calling them by name, that we cared about them. We didn't have a whole lot of things to give them except a hot meal and the word, right? So that's what we started with.
And dignity.
So, yep, hope, love, and dignity is what we want them to feel part of a community. So that's how Many Helping Hands kind of started. We knew the Irving homeless was bigger than just our small church. So we started reaching out to other churches. And our first event was in fall of 2012. We had a winter event. We reached out to Good Shepherd Lutheran Church, and we just started collecting clothes, and we gave clothes out to the community. It wasn't just for the homeless, but we were able to get stuff for our homeless at the, you know, hygiene and things like that. That was how we started, and we said, okay, well, we want to do something in Irving. So we reached out to a couple other churches and joined us, and we started feeding a hot meal on Thursdays in June of 2013. And so we haven't missed a Thursday night meal since then.
And was I don't see much of Irving because I don't live here. Was the homeless population then much smaller than it is now, or is it about the same? How would you say that it's changed over the last 10 years?
Much smaller back then.
It was much smaller then?
Yes. The lack of affordable housing, the cost of, cost of living going up, of course, COVID. There's just all kinds of things. But yeah, back then, and we just served the people that could walk to our church. We didn't transport, we didn't do anything. So, we started 20, 30 people, 40 people, then it started getting bigger as the years as the time went by. So we ended up moving from, the little church we were at, we started our Thursday night at a different church, and then we started at another church, Good Shepherd, and we were serving like 125 people, which so it grew pretty quickly, and that was pre-COVID, right before COVID. So it grew quickly from 2012 to 2020. So after COVID, now we're serving 85 to 100 people every week at our Thursday night meal.
I have two questions that are related. As you were starting out, I'm sure like most early programs, you don't expect all of the organization and the 501(c)(3) and all of that stuff. You're just trying to get a sandwich in someone's hands and address their immediate needs. What was one of the greatest, most wonderful experiences in those early days? And what was the most discouraging moment?
So we did form our 501 in 2014. And we did have a lot of churches join us, and they're still with us today. So to see God working, all denominations coming together, and we started doing haircuts and Bible studies and hygiene. So it wasn't just, here, let me feed you a sandwich and love on you a little bit, you know, and we started reaching out to other organizations for housing and, you know, just started seeing actual assistance come together. We started the Parkland bus that started coming, so healthcare. So we started seeing changes and people getting hope and getting off the street. So that's probably to see from where I came from with no services and being able to do this for people, even if it's just loving them where they're at and showing them dignity, right, and telling them we love them, to seeing some of their successes, right. And the frustrating, or probably the struggle that we've had, and this happens in most cities, but there's no homeless. We don't have we don't have a homeless problem because people don't want homeless in their backyard. So when we go to lease a building or try to do anything, we get a lot of opposition. The city gives us opposition. We don't get funding from the city. We don't get, you know. So because if the mentality of most cities, if you build it, they will come. And yes, probably more will come if they know there's services. But the population across the whole United States has there's such a homeless population issue that it's not many helping hands that's causing it. We're trying to find a solution. So, you know, we opened a day center 2.5 years ago, and we pick them up and we take them out of downtown Irving, and they have a place to stay during the day, so they're not by the businesses. All the things that they worry about, we're trying to help them get a step up, right? We're trying to end homelessness, and ultimately, it's a process. It's a process, and everybody's situation is different. So the struggle is trying to get people to support homelessness because people don't like it in their backyard, and maybe to get the cities on board so we can get more services to them.
Back to your joy, the first part of that, when you're talking about all of the different things now that y'all do. One, what are all of the different things that you now do? But two, was that a vision of yours in the beginning, or is it just like as you expanded, you identified new areas that needed help, and so you're like, oh, we can do that, we can do that? Does that make sense? Like did you have this like, hey, I want to get into all this stuff, or was it just like as you went, you sort of identified new things? You
know, in the very beginning, I just knew God wanted me to do homeless ministry. As we started doing it, I knew that He wanted us to do more. So, but the vision that He gave me, and this was early on, there's probably a year after we kind of started Many Helping Hands, my husband and I were going to do Bill Glass prison ministry, because I was trying to let him do something that he wanted to do, ride his motorcycle into the prison, right? And we signed up with our church to go in, and they had too many volunteers, and they sent us to a homeless ministry. So that day, the bike broke down. We wouldn't have been able to go anyway. And they sent us, you know, so we went to this ministry, and it was called the Cafe. And we get there in a van, and the first person I see is one of my clients. So I knew that God's like, here, see, I get God bumps every time I talk about it. So when I walked into that was the vision that He had given me, but I didn't have the organization. I just knew that I wanted to provide services. So I always knew there was no showers, no laundry, no hot meals. When we first started, there was not a hot meal in Irving at all. They didn't get anything, sack lunches sometimes. But the whole vision of doing AA and AA programs, you know, giving housing, and it was just a day center. And it was a small day center. And when I walked in, it was exactly my vision. So He confirmed it for me way early on. It took us many years to get to the vision, which was in July of 2022. But we knew that that's what we were going to eventually get to in God's timing.
I would suspect that your background as being homeless gives you a unique perspective to be able to communicate with and identify with your clients, your friends.
Yes, and I can tell you the struggle of homelessness is not knowing where you're going to lay your head down, your stuff getting stolen all the time, you lose your ID, all those things. So we help with IDs, we help with that kind of thing. If you happen to get a job, how are you going to get there? So I was unemployable most of the time that I was out there, but I really wanted to do it. So if I had a little bit of, here, let me help you, Lana. What do you need today?
Yeah.
That I think I may have gotten out of sooner.
Right.
God's plan was perfect, but that's it. So that's what we hope to do is let them know. So what's your next step? Let's figure out your next step together. But it takes building trust. They have to trust us. They have to know that they're safe. They have to know that we're really truly not doing it for anything except we want them to do better.
Yeah.
Do you think they have an easier time building trust with you because of your background?
Yes, once I tell them my testimony and I share it very freely, there's no shame and guilt because God said just yell it from the rooftops, right? He saved me. If he could do it for me, he can do it for anyone. And he's always, what I want to tell people is if each of us just mentored one person, if I figured out what their next need was, and if we could help with that, whether it's financial or not, or just loving them and calling them by name and hugging them, if we poured some life into people, the whole world would change. And so that's what I want to tell people. It doesn't take money. I mean, it takes money, but each volunteer has a different role. We're the hands and feet, right? So we all work together.
I think that's an important focus because I think sometimes, we do have a lot of homeless people, but we also have a fair number of affluent people in America. And I think sometimes we have that write a check and, it's like, oh, we can feel good about it because we wrote a check. And you did, but somebody's still got to do the...
We still need
somebody's
checks,
still
so
got to do the...
Yeah.
Right, but I mean,
Absolutely.
somebody's still got to do the work.
Right, somebody still has to do the work, right. So we need both. We need people with serving hearts that can do whatever their skill set is. And of course, we need the financial
Always
as
need
well.
the money.
Because not to diminish the value of a check, of a donation, contribution. That keeps the doors open, that keeps the
Right.
lights on, that keeps the food coming in from the food bank or the grocery store, from wherever. But that's not the same as a friendly hand on a shoulder, the words face to face. Don't forget, you are a beloved child of God.
Amen.
You are innately valuable.
Yes.
Don't ever forget that. And that can be a hard lesson to teach, and when you're in those depths of despair, can be I think, difficult lesson to learn and message to hear.
Yes. I can tell you, Sheila that runs my day center, she's the director of the day center, she did this exercise with a couple people. She just pulled a mirror out and she put the mirror down and she had one-on-ones with them. And look in the mirror and tell me what you see. And they would see hopelessness, despair, whatever. And then she would have a whole conversation about needs and love and God. And then at the end, she would show them the mirror. And now what do you see? Well, I see hope. I see, value or whatever their word was, but it was pretty amazing. And just that conversation,
Yeah.
just that conversation. So yeah, we might give them a backpack, we might give them this, but it's the conversations that matter.
Right.
It's the pouring God's love in them that matters.
I was serving one of our congregations downtown Dallas, just 2 blocks from Baylor Hospital. And it was a huge facility, had probably 6 to 10 alcoves and entrances. And in every one of them would be a person or family that was their place. That was where they returned at the end of every day. My wife and I got acquainted with one couple that were always at the door if we left in the afternoon, and we got chatting with them and said, "Is there anything you need right now?" I said, "We'd love some water." Okay, went inside and got them some bottled water. And they said, "If you can help us get water, we'll go around and water your plants outside." It gave them a purpose. It gave them not a home, but a place they knew they could come back to. And they knew we weren't going to call the cops on them.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I'm glad you said that purpose. So our friends that come to the day center, we pick them up, we transport them. They have access to showers, laundry, and clothes, and food, and Bible studies, and haircuts, and things like that. But they love to serve. They love, if they see me carrying something, oh, let me get that for you. Let me, and so that's, you know, they love to give back. Let me wipe the tables down. Let me put, you know, how can I help you? It makes them, and that's another thing that we do is if they serve every day, everything we ask them to do, I can write a recommendation letter for a job. This person is willingness to serve or to work. He's not afraid to work. And so that gives them, hey, if you're going to go for a job, I'll write you a letter. They're like, really? We're like, yeah, look at, you've been coming for 6 months.
Yeah.
You know, and they have a safe place. They can sleep if they want to sleep because they can't sleep outside. It's just miraculous to see the things that can happen if you just spend some time with them. And so our vision is to open the day center 5 days a week because we're only open from 10 to 2, 3 days a week. And so far we've already done 1,100 loads of laundry this year.
Wow.
Just in those 3 days and those hours. And we've done 1,900 showers. And we want to expand that to 5 days so that we can do more and maybe reach more people in the city that don't know where we're at.
When you talked about the haircuts and the showers and all that kind of stuff, how much of a change do you see? Because I know, like, when I feel scuzzy and then I go get a shower, I'm like, hey, like, life's better. How much of a change do you see in them? You know, it's like when I start to look like old me. You know what I mean? Like they kind of start to find who they used to be, that kind of thing.
It's amazing. It'll make you cry. Sheila will tell a story if she were here that the very first day, you know, people came into the shower. Well, their very, very first time, it still happens today, and they're looking down and they're got all their stuff, and they go upstairs for the shower and they come down and they're like this.
Yeah.
And then you cut your hair and they're looking in the mirror, and their whole spirit changes. And so then they know, hey, I can come back here tomorrow or next week, and I can feel that way. And then they say, well, maybe I'm employable.
Is it kind of like they walk in shame and they leave with pride?
Yes, and I just full of hope. I think absolutely. That they, and then somebody tells them a testimony, right? That what God did for me, and they're like, really? I'm like, yeah.
There's a chance, you know.
Yeah, it gives them that glimmer of hope. Yeah.
When the comment you made before about you were employable or you were unemployable most of the time, but you kind of wanted to get there when you were homeless. That's what made me, you know, I wonder how many of them, because I have met some people who are homeless and that's where they want to be. There was a guy at the previous church that I worked at in Denton. He would work a job, make a little bit of money, and then when he got enough that he felt like he was okay for a while, he would quit, and but a lot of them seemed like they were trying to get somewhere. They just, like when you talked about setting out a plan, they just either didn't know how to get there. There was, the term we used to use is paralysis by analysis. There was too many options and they couldn't you know, figure out where to start, kind of a thing. And
when I was serving in church in Austin, the location was just off of the campus and just off of Guadalupe, which is the drag. And we noticed a lot of homeless, and a lot of them were regular faces, and would see them often. And one of them I became slightly acquainted with, and his name was Terry. He was a Vietnam vet. He was always clean, shaved. He always carried his pack with him. Come to find out, he had an apartment. He had a mailing address to which his benefit checks were sent. He said, I cannot make myself live indoors. That's basically a warehouse for me. But he was chronically on the street because that was where he felt safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, our challenge was, what can we do for you? Give me a sandwich periodically. He said, I can take care of myself out there, but I've lost the ability to function in structured society. Do you run across many who have kind of lost touch with the ability to function within the structures of regular society?
Yes, there's those out there. Like I said, it's the whole gamut. They're from all walks of life, all countries. I mean, homelessness is an issue everywhere. And so we do have people that we're just going to love them on where they're at, and we're still going to encourage them and try to do our best. If they're eligible for benefits, let's get them benefits, things like that. Healthcare, we do healthcare. We have Parkland bus that comes, so we want to make sure that, like during COVID, they would go to the hospital, they'd get diagnosed with COVID, and they would be put back on the street to sleep under the bridge. That's not, and no human should have to go through that. Everybody deserves a safe place, right? That's my belief. So, but that safe place might be a tent instead of a, it might be. So there's no judgment. There's no judgment, and we try to encourage them to want to do something different. I know when I was out there, I didn't think it was possible for me. And so when they start seeing success stories, then they might get some more self-esteem. So there's all different walks of life, but there are people that are just comfortable out there. But I had one of those, and he ended up getting a check, and then he did end up going to a motel. So eventually he was always one, I'm good, I don't need anything, I'm good. And then eventually he was willing to do something different.
I may be comfortable out there, but I'm a lot more comfortable in there.
I want to watch football on a Sunday afternoon.
How many adolescents do you see?
So luckily we don't see a lot, but they hide. The city of Irving has a big homeless school children. I mean, there's programs in the schools, in Irving schools, called Project Pass, and there's homeless kids couch surfing. They either aged out of foster care, or their family kicked them out at 16 or 17, and they're wanting to finish school. So they're with their friends, or who they're hiding because they don't want to go back into foster care or whatever the situation. So we don't see a lot. We have recently seen a lot of families living in cars, and it breaks my heart. And there's not a lot of solutions. There's not enough spaces for those type of situations. So we just let them come in the day center, and we let them get air conditioning or heat or whatever the situation, and food. And we try to give them whatever resources we know about, but there's not openings. Most of them are full. But yeah, so it's hard. We need more affordable housing, and we need more structured, whether it's group home, whatever it is, that the solution is bigger than what we have right now. I know that.
What is the upper range of your clientele, age-wise?
Age-wise, we have people that are in their 70s. Really? We actually had somebody come that was 92.
Wow.
Yeah. We have a pretty big population between 60, over 60. This year we've seen more women in their 60s. Yeah.
How come? Don't know.
Social Security checks aren't big enough. If they're eligible for Social Security, their spouse dies, they lose their house. They don't have family, or their family, or they don't want to tell their family they're in a situation. Just all different stories. I mean, you can't just say it's this or this. There's so many different stories. You can't generalize homelessness.
Do you find with that group? I mean, I would imagine, but I don't interact with them. Is it harder to kind of turn the corner with them? Because I know just from family members that I've had that have maybe been forced into early retirement, and then they try to find a job again or something, but they're kind of on that age bubble where it's like nobody wants to hire somebody that's like 62, 63 kind of a thing.
That's part of it.
Is that,
part of it? Or they're set in their ways, and so there's entitlement issues. There's all kinds of different things. They don't want to be told what to do. You know, some of it might be structure issues. They've lived their life this long. You know, now they're the victim, right? Poor me. And I feel bad. Absolutely, I was a victim as well. And there's, you know, hopefully a solution for everybody. That's what we would like to find, working with other nonprofits to find a solution. There's a big seems to me a senior services gap in our nonprofit world.
Is it fair to say they may be a victim, but that doesn't mean that's where they got to live?
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, because it's hard to, when you're in that mentality and you're negative, things like that, it's hard to speak life and, you know, that there's change. And I can speak it to them, but I can't give them a solution. So it's just words, you know, it's just words, because we can't solve everything.
That's a fact. I could just see where some people might think, oh, you're saying that, you know, they're like, well, something really happened to me. It's like, yeah, we acknowledge that something really happened to you, but you still got to get up and get going. We
have people that have had strokes that walk around the streets with strokes and walkers, you know, sad. It's horrible.
You've talked about wanting to expand the day center to 5 days from 3 days. Is there obviously you've started to identify other areas that also need help. Is there a grand end goal that you kind of, maybe not end goal, but do you see something way off in the future that you're like, oh, I really want to get to that? Or is it just you're much shorter focused?
I think there's a little bit of both. I mean, my hope is that we can find affordable housing for everybody and then find a solution. That's pie in the sky kind of. It's not. I don't want to say it's pie in the sky. There's a lot to do before that. You know, it takes a lot of funding. But the expanding the day center and expanding our services and getting more wraparound services. We don't have to duplicate services of other nonprofits. We just need to come together. And so, you know, the building that we're in right now, we're in a church. Bear Creek Community Church is where our day center is. And we fit ourselves in there. So we have some room upstairs and some room downstairs. To expand that would be wonderful. So I guess probably our next vision is, how do we expand our services? So are we going to invite in, because right now I have 2 showers and 2 laundries. And there's no other space right now to put it anymore. So shower trailer, laundry trailer. So we brought in a shower trailer. So there's, you know, things that we want to do. So if we expand to 5 days, we could spread out our services a little more. I would like to make sure everybody knows about us that's homeless, so we can help whoever needs it. And then our future, you know, is to have case management and things like that, to literally get into how exactly can I help you.
Right.
So our volunteers are amazing. I don't think I've said that enough. I have had volunteers that have been with us since day one, and they serve every single Thursday, or they serve every single Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. We would not have this ministry if it wasn't for the volunteers, because we're 99% volunteer based. And that 2 years ago, 2 years ago is when we hired the day center director and myself, kind of. So it's 100% volunteer. And I would like to at some point have a staff and grow and stuff, but I think that's way future.
When you talked about just now not duplicating services and interfacing with some of the other local nonprofits, how does that interfacing work? We know ICANN exists. We attended an ICANN meeting. It was an interesting opportunity. How have you found that interfacing or interaction, and kind of what are your thoughts on it? Is it going well? Is it not going well? Could it be better? I mean, I know that's kind of candid, but
yeah. So it's there's a lot of, not that I want to talk. There's a lot of competition for funds, especially in a city. And so when somebody, you know, I say don't want to duplicate services. Of course, we're going to have some duplication. Meals would be one of them, right? But like ICANN, I've been a member of ICANN for many years. We talk a lot, but a lot of us don't partner real well together. But we're learning. So coming to the table is important. You know, maybe in that environment or any other environment. So, like me reaching out to Project Pass to see if there's any kids that need to get on a Parkland bus. We're trying that. You know, we're doing things like that. Streetside showers we've brought in. We paid for Streetside to be downtown Irving because we didn't have showers for all these years. And they just recently got moved out of downtown Irving. So we brought them to the day center on Friday so we could expand our shower services.
I'm guessing the moving was not optional. Is that
Moving was
they
not
were-
optional.
yeah.
They got moved out.
Yeah.
And I get they want to renovate downtown and make it more vibrant and business. And so, to me, this one of the solutions is let Many Helping Hands pick them up and bring them to
Right.
the day center, and then you would have a better,
If you help
experience.
support us, we'll help fix your problem.
Yeah. So, but we
Right.
we do work together. Inclement weather. We work with the inclement weather shelter now because we've been doing inclement weather since 2015. But it's bigger than just our little space. So the Christchurch has the inclement weather shelter. We're the overflow. So we do partner together. Food-wise, we partner with Irving Cares. We partner with Crisis Ministries. So we have good partnerships. But a lot of times it's about the funding, right? So right now it's North Texas Giving Day. So everybody's posts are out there about we're trying to get a piece of the pie, So there's a lot of competition, but I think generally we want to work together.
When is North Texas Giving Day?
So it is open. Early giving opened on September 1st, so
Okay.
you can go out there now. The actual day is September 19th.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
What are some of the other programs you have on the horizon?
So we have an annual fundraiser. This is our 11th annual this year. We called it the Soup Fundraiser. That's how it started way back when, soup and bread. But this is a jailhouse. We're calling it Jailhouse Rock Gala. It is October 25th. It is at Southern Junction, which is on Rogers. This year we have an Elvis impersonator. We have great silent auction items. We have all kinds of things. This is the event we've been doing every single year, which helped our ministry all these years. And we always would put half of it back towards our day center because we've had that vision. So the day center's here, it's very successful, and we need funding. So we have this going. We have an On the Border. If you go eat it on the border on September 27th, just mention Many Helping Hands, and we get 20%. And we also have what we call a 700 Club. We started back when COVID happened. We were trying to lease a building, and it was $7,000 a month for the building. And we knew we didn't have that type of sustainability, so we started a 700 Club. Well, we are relaunching that now to increase our monthly donations. So it's real important that we have that for if we do get a grant, that we have sustainability, that we can keep the lease where we're at, expand to 5 days, the things that we want to do, we have to sustain that. So those are some of the things that are coming up. But North Texas Giving Day right now, we're looking for a match. I think I may have one earmarked, so I'm working on that. But you can go on North Texas Giving Day and just search Many Helping Hands, and there's a whole profile out there. And we would love to have you all come volunteer too. There's all kinds of opportunity.
You mentioned On the Border. Is that just an On the Border here in Irving, or what is the? Okay.
It's just on board here in Irving. So it's all day that day. You just tell them about Many Helping Hands, and we'll get 20%.
Awesome. This is going backwards quite a ways, so I may cut this in, but I wanted to ask it earlier, and then we just kind of kept going. I know you have project management experience, but in the development of Many Helping Hands, how was the learning curve of the actual operation side of how to run an organization?
Pretty big. Still learning. Still learning. Some of it came naturally. Some of it I had some mentors, different ministries and things, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm doing now is reaching out, trying to make sure we have all of our ducks in a row, because if we ever go for government grants, we have to go from grassroots to, so we're working on that. Grant writing, trying to teach myself grant writing, it's hard. And, when you're a small nonprofit, trying to go to the next level, there's a learning curve. So I am always looking for a mentor or somebody that has experience in that to come join us to volunteer basis, kind of walk with me. So I'm definitely open to learn, because it's a huge learning curve.
Right.
And I love doing the IDs and the ministry part too, because that's where my heart is. So, sometimes it's hard to let Sheila run the day center or let me do that. So it's challenging, but I'm learning.
What areas right now do you think you could most benefit in having a mentor in?
Programs, organizing programs, making sure that we're all, because we do track everything, making sure we're compliant in all areas, right? So compliance, our methods and procedures, that kind of thing. Because if we go for a grant, you have to dot your T's, cross your T's and dot your I's. And, so that would be, how do they organize? Because I have 3 different emails I check. How do you organize all that? So, and feedback, what do you see I'm doing wrong? Just come hang out for a while. What suggestions do you have? So that kind of thing. And some experience that, don't do this, do that. You may not want to go down this road, So, I just think, I don't know what I don't know.
Right.
So I'm open. I'm open to constructive feedback and all those things, because you have to be to grow.
What are the biggest hurdles from an organizational standpoint that you found?
Funding is a big hurdle for all nonprofits. And, I don't want to say getting dedicated volunteers, but in order to, to expand your services, where do you get those volunteers with that experience, right? So we are on Volunteer Match and things like that, and I put profiles out there. But I think that's kind of a challenge. I really want to move into a case management situation at some point. What's that process? How do we do that? How would that look like? But I think, putting a board together, getting some successful people on your board, that's sometimes a challenge, right? So it's just growing pains, and people have told me that you're exactly where you're supposed to be, and I know God's timing is perfect, so I know it's coming. I just want it yesterday.
I understand that for sure.
You say you really kind of kicked this off in 2012. Did you imagine you'd be where you are now 12 years ago?
No. I didn't know what God really had planned. And his timing is so amazing. So like the day center, I'll say, when he gave me the day center vision, we tried, right? Not God's timing, my timing. Let's open it. It's COVID. They have no place to go. They can't, and nobody wanted to lease to us. Nobody wanted a homeless ministry in their buildings. So I thought we should have started that a long time ago, but now I've surrendered and know beyond a shadow of a doubt, when the day center opened, I got laid off from my job. I'm retired. I had a full-time job this whole time till last May.
Wow.
So, he brought me Sheila so she could run the day center. So that's wonderful. So it was like the timing. Once I saw the timing, I'm like, I see you. I'm gonna let you. So, like I said, I would like to move. I like to solve world hunger, right? I can't do that in a day or 12 years, right?
Yeah.
So
it's kind of like, it sounds like in the life of the church, you may have a program idea, and you may present it, and you may try to implement it, and it doesn't work. And what we try to keep telling church people is not that the idea is bad. Is that the timing is not right.
Yeah.
And you can always come back to it again, and maybe the difference is societal attitudes might change, or the energy of your volunteers might change, or community needs may change that make this the perfect time for it.
yes.
Well, you have to have the faith and the courage to try it again.
So I can say, I've been told this. If it's hard, if you're hitting your head against the wall, it's your will, not God's, right? So I can say when we started Many Helping Hands, God had his hands all over it. So he brought the churches that are still with us. He brought those volunteers that are still with us. We have the same committee that we had in the beginning for, it's amazing. And they were all on board with the vision. So that's amazing. God was like, okay, I just got God bumps again. Here, this is the path. And then, of course, to expand that, right, is where we're at now. So we're in that,
Yeah.
So,
Sometimes I think God wants to watch us hit that wall to see how we figure out to go over, under, or around it.
Yeah.
And what we can learn from the
exactly. And I
experience.
think we learned that with the day center during COVID hit. Nobody expected that. We never stopped serving. You know, we served all through COVID. If one of our clients got COVID, we put them in the motel for 2 weeks because we didn't want them to walk the streets with COVID, sick with 100 fever, you know. So all that time that we thought we need a day center, he's like, no, just be patient, you know, keep doing what you're doing, build those relationships, you know. Just love on people. Your time will come, and I think that's where we're at. You know, our time is coming.
Well, when you talked about the churches and the people who partnered with you originally that are still there, I think that's a testament to y'all sticking to your vision, because they saw the vision, but you haven't departed. So you know what I mean?
Right.
Everything's still in sync. You haven't departed the vision, and that's why they're still with you.
We're a great team. We're a great team. I'm very blessed.
But I can certainly say personally, there were things that I was like, oh, I'm ready for this 15 years ago or something. And I might have been able to make it work, but it works a lot better now. You know, it's like,
exactly.
In hindsight, I'm like, yeah, I didn't know anything.
So for me, I was grateful to get a job back and be employed. And God's like, oh no, yeah, I have something else for you to do while you're working.
As we begin to kind of wrap up, what is the last word you would like to have to say to the community of Irving about this ministry?
So Many Helping Hands loves our homeless community without any judgment. We would love for people to join us in our vision, whether you want to serve, volunteer, or donation. We could use you. It's going to take all of us to help solve homelessness. But for Many Helping Hands, we just love them where they're at. And if you could find a purpose in your life, it's amazing when you find a purpose. Mentor somebody, find a place to serve. It made such a difference in my life. And of course, I'll do one more plea for financial stability, for Many Helping Hands. Pray for us if you're a prayer warrior. We definitely just want to make a difference in our city of Irving. Yeah.
Awesome.
God bless you and Kensley and all of you that are working, and Sheila, all of you that are working together in this. You've obviously been touched and are touching many, many, many lives, and all of those lives need to be reassured that they are persons of value and they are beloved children of God. Thank you for sharing that with them.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you for having us. God bless y'all too. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today for this episode of Mulling It Over. I hope that you found something meaningful and beneficial to take with you.
If you have any questions or topics you would like to hear us discuss, you can either put them down in the video comments or you can email them to us at office@irvingnorthcc.org.
As always, we want to invite you to join us for worship every Sunday morning, 11 o'clock a.m. at Irving North Christian Church, 2602 Texas Drive, Irving, Texas. May God bless.